Welcome to the Talented Learning Show podcast series, episode 73, with independent learning tech analyst John Lay. Today I interview Christian Gainsborough, CTO of Learning Cart LMS, about the exploding yet specialty market of selling learning content. You can find more of our fiercely independent content at talentedlearning.com. Well, welcome back, listeners, and thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Show podcast. On this show, I am fortunate 73 times to interview experts in the customer education, content as a business, extended enterprise learning technology space from both the vendor and the practitioner points of view. And today's no different. I'm here today with Christian Gainsborough, who is the chief architect and CTO of a pure content for business learning management system called Learning Cart LMS. The Learning Cart LMS caught my attention years ago because of its uniqueness and has been a perennial winner in our annual learning system awards process here at Talented Learning ever since. Listeners, as you know, I study the global learning system market. There's more than 1,000 viable learning systems in the market today in 2024, and they go by a lot of names, some that we remember or know, like LMSs, but also LXPs, training management systems, authoring systems, learning content management systems, video learning systems, sales systems, compliance learning systems, and many, many, many other types of learning systems exist out in the marketplace. As part of my job, I've reviewed hundreds and hundreds of these systems over the last decade. As it turns out, many LMSs are designed for student audiences, first in mind. Many others are designed for customer or partner channel or franchise learning or employee learning in any combination. But the last unique segment, specialty segment that's out there is the content for business segment. It's not a homogeneous segment, though. There's a lot of different names for this segment goes by professional education, continuing medical, or any type of education, e-commerce learning, certification training, SME training, association or member training. This segment of the market has a lot of names, but they have one thing in common. The business is about creating, marketing, and selling training and growing a content business. And in that, they have specialty needs that just aren't covered in other systems. It's a lot different than an employee compliance LMS to support somebody that wants to market and sell content. And so today we're going to learn all about it. We have Christian here today. He's been following this same marketplace now for well over a decade, part of the founding team of the company that's addressing this market at Learning Cart. And he's built a platform that addresses the marketplace. I really like this platform because I've seen things in it that I just don't see in normal learning systems. And it's a testament to the innovation that these different learning systems do, including Learning Cart, to adapt to whatever vertical or specialty that they're trying to target in the marketplace. And each specialty has different buyers and different business challenges that they're trying to solve. So with that introduction, we're going to dig into the marketplace right now and the content as a business and try to learn all about it from somebody that lives there every single day. Christian, welcome to the Talented Learning Show podcast series. It's great to have you here.
Yep, great to be here, John.
Yeah, we've been talking forever and a day, it feels like, since we're two sides of the same coin, loving the content for business segment of the learning market. I've been following your platform for years and watching the plethora of features unroll out that are different than you see in learning system platforms all over the place. And as you know, there's a ton of different learning system platforms. And so each segment of the market has different innovations, different business challenges, different reasons for buying and deploying and measuring a learning system. And the space that you play in is very unique and very difficult to play in because it contains a whole lot of features and a whole lot of mentality that's not normal from an L&D perspective or not in the core skill set. So, but let's start off with many people or some people may not be familiar with your organization. So why don't we start off with who Learning Cart is and what it is you do in the marketplace and where you fit into the world?
Sure, great. So Learning Cart's an LMS platform but we're kind of fond, as you alluded to, of saying that we're a lot more than just an LMS. So our goal has always been to really provide like a comprehensive platform with all the necessary tools to help an organization market, sell, deploy, and then track learning. So we have the LMS component, but along with that, we have a very comprehensive integrated e-commerce platform. So you can sell, not just training, but physical products, digital downloads, virtual training, all sorts of different things, classroom events. It also means that we provide an integrated content management system. So our customers can market their content, optimize their learning cart site for search, and our system sort of brings together all the pieces that you really need to be successful in this space. And so we've been at this now for about a decade. And I'll always remember when we kind of started doing this, way back when people were sort of like, why would I want to sell my training? And obviously that market has caught fire over the last decade. But over those years, we've been working with customers in all sorts of different spaces. And so our platforms really become tailored sort of to the real world needs of organizations who are looking to monetize their training programs.
And why don't you, great overview. Why don't you describe what an organization like that would look like? What organizations monetize? Is it just
Yeah,
training companies? Is it mom and pops? Is it something different?
sure. So that's one of the things I really love about, our platform and what we kind of get to do is that we work with organizations from, Fortune 50 companies all the way down to, mom and pop, real small subject matter experts. Um, and we have people in all sorts of different industries. So from workplace safety to medical training, software training, and then we get, subject matter experts in really specific niches like storm runoff or state air quality standards. So uh, really detailed stuff. But I mean, regardless of the size or, the subject matter, all of our customers are really looking for a way to train and engage an external audience. So that's really, kind of all usually their focus. And most of them have experience with other LMS platforms. So a lot of the time they've tried to use an internal LMS and they've found that it really just doesn't have all the necessary tools to effectively market, sell, and train external users.
Let's dig into that. I think one group of tools for sure is the tools to market your content. So what is exactly does that involve? If you're a training company, what does that mean? What's the scope
Yeah.
of that?
So we like to say that, to do this successfully, it's sort of 50% instructional design, 50% marketing, right? When you have an internal audience, you work at Coca-Cola, you can basically say you have to go through our training and that's it, right? And that process can be complicated. That process can involve, training that isn't really engaging. It's just a job requirement, right? But in the world our customers exist in, that doesn't work, right? There's a lot of different training vendors. There's a lot of different options for users out there. Workplace safety, for example. I mean, there's a million different vendors you can go to and get trained. So,
Yeah.
a really important part of doing this successfully is sort of putting on your marketing hat and trying to define and educate your customers on what your competitive advantage is, right? Like what makes your training different, what makes your training more engaging, what makes your training more effective in improving the learning outcomes. And so with a traditional LMS you don't have a lot of good tools to do that. You kind of get a course description, you get a register button, and that's it. With Learning Cart, with our content management system, you can build out really rich descriptions for your products. You can do product bundles. You can play with pricing strategy. We're integrated with, Google Analytics, so you can, track your conversions, your effectiveness. And so it really lets you focus more on that side of the business and not necessarily just the instructional kind of content piece.
Interesting. So tracking conversions. So you would be with Google Analytics looking how many times that landing page was landed upon, and then how many times somebody actually bought something, for example? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then all of that data rolls up so you can report on your top performing products. You can see total sales, all of that just will automatically show up. There's a
Hmm.
lot of really other great tools that we integrate with. One is a product called Hotjar, which actually lets you build heat maps of your site. So you can see where people are leaving your page. You can see how far they're scrolling down the page. You can see where their mouse is moving. And so that's a really interesting analytic tool that lets you really track customer performance in real time, so that you can kind of tailor your pages to be more successful.
Hmm. It sounds like, I do a lot of that same thing, but I do it through, my WordPress website, from that public standpoint. So it
Yeah.
sounds like, creating these pages is in lieu of that or in addition to that, the public
Yeah.
facing
So
page.
yeah, when we originally built Learning Cart, what we found was a lot of people were using sort of three different platforms, right? So they would have like WordPress or Wix or an internal content management system, right? Then they would have, Shopify or
Mm.
some other e-commerce system, right? And then they would have their LMS piece, and all of those pieces were disconnected. And so what we've tried to do is bring those all together into one platform. And that makes it easier for our customers to be successful because instead of having to go to three different systems, right, or engage three different administrators, one to add the product, one to create the marketing site, one to build the course in the LMS, they can do it all from one interface. The other really kind of cool thing is that since all those pieces are tied together, when it comes to conversions, for example, right, you can track that consistently through the entire process, right? So from the product landing page to the product details page to the actual payment page to actually launching a course, all of that data is sort of unified instead of all being in different systems.
Yeah. Wow, that's neat. That's neat because I'm the poster child of the different systems. I'm constantly looking, trying to be that connection, pulling it together. So from a marketing standpoint, you can build the pages, you can essentially, build the front end site and track all the way through that, just like you can with Google Analytics on a website. What about communication, of like, I don't know, communicating with people that aren't logging in or are logging in, the more marketing aspects of communication. What's the scope there of what people need?
Um, well, there's I think a couple different aspects to that. One of the things, another area we found people were integrating with, right, was um, email marketing, right? And
Hmm.
so a lot of, I'm sure you get it, right? You go to a website, you don't place an order, you get an email follow up saying, "Hey, right, we found that you didn't complete your order. Here's a discount code or whatever." So we found a lot of our customers were integrating with third-party mail applications like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or whatever, right? Another integration point, another sort of data silo. Um, so in Learning Cart, you have the ability to natively generate a lot of those sorts of notifications. So whether somebody abandons their shopping cart, whether somebody has a training that's going to expire, whether they have a new product available, all of that can just be driven through the system. And again, the cool thing is that since we have all that data in one platform, right, we know what products they've purchased, uh, we know what courses they've attended, we know when their expiration dates are, and so we can key off sort of custom emails based on all of that to really kind of keep the customers engaged, as the site grows or as new products are offered.
Wow, cool, cool. Employee LMSs wouldn't have any of that, of course, because they don't need any of that. I mean,
Right.
it's not conceived of. But here at Talented Learning, you're already talking about four systems. I've got HubSpot sending messages. I've got
Yep.
Zapier talking from the LMS to HubSpot to sending messages back to the CRM, and so all these, it's essentially four different systems that are talking together. And the fifth system, really, that everybody worries about is content creation. So if you're selling content, you're creating proprietary content, I would hope. I don't know what else you would do. So the creation of content has to be like super high on the list of priorities. for your clients and for anybody else in this. What are your thoughts on all that? What are clients struggling with today? What do they want from a content creation standpoint?
Yeah. So, we obviously have built-in tools in Learning Cart. So, you can create quizzes and video content and, sort of traditional training content in the platform. Um, you know, in our space in particular, one of the things that's we try and put on our customers' radar early on is the importance of content portability, right? And so as an LMS vendor, right, it's great if somebody builds content in our system because it's locked into that platform. And it's easy to do, right? You don't need any authoring tools. And I think that's becoming very common, right, across the industry is people just sort of building out simple content that way.
Mhm.
But for our particular audience, uh, you know, content portability usually becomes very important if they become successful, because that's where licensing deals start coming up, right? And if you've built your content using a specific LMS's authoring tool, you've lost the ability to have content portability. So
Mhm.
we're big proponents of SCORM. I mean, it is definitely still the workhorse of the training industry. And the great thing about SCORM is, you know, if you get approached by a large organization, they're going to have a SCORM compliant internal, LMS, right? The Microsofts, the Netflixes, the Apples, these are all people that our customers have done deals with. They're not going to send their internal employees to your LMS, right? They're going to say, hey, we've got our internal system. It's tied into our HR system. It already has user accounts. There's security concerns, right? But we love your content. We want to put it into our system. Um, and that's where honestly a lot of our clients end up making big money because you can get up to a large scale very quickly that way. So we really think that Swarm is great for those reasons, and it just gives you great long term options. And obviously, I mean, Storyline does what it does very well. Captivate does what it does very well, and it's very easy to then just take that content and load it into a platform like Learning Cart.
Mhm. Mhm. So you would think that most larger organizations, because of the need to syndicate, still prefer to use third-party authoring tools as a way to create their content. Is that the
Yeah,
takeaway?
yeah, that's
Uh,
definitely what we see.
Interesting. Interesting. What about uh, what about uh, the concept of affiliates? What does that mean, and how does that play into this conversation?
Yes. So, affiliates are something that's pretty ubiquitous sort of in the general e-commerce market, um, but is, a little bit new for LMS folks, right? Um, so the great thing about affiliates, and Learning Cart has built in sort of affiliate tracking, is that you can incentivize people to drive traffic to your site and help market your site. So for a lot of our customers, they'll set up sort of an affiliate network of other people who perhaps work in the industry. They'll give them a
Mhm.
unique link that they can use to direct people to their site, and then we can track that all the way through. So once the order is complete, whatever the terms of that affiliate agreement are, if it's, hey, you get 10% or 20% of each sale, um, we can report on all of that. So it's a good way again to help our customers kind of scale, because instead of them having to handle all the marketing internally, they can offload that to other people who may be working in the industry who are already experts and already have an audience, and are looking for a way to sort of advertise some of these other products.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And so it's really, a lot of it is just the marketing aspects. You think of sharing or syndicating your content as a way to get that content out into other LMSs, all your customers' LMSs. What you didn't describe is that your learning solution facilitates that process of distributing that learning content, so you could still track and manage it in these other organizations. And then affiliate codes are a way that you can get parallel people, consultants, other people in your extended enterprise ecosystem selling for you and getting compensated for that. And then you have the marketing communication thing. So you're tracking, what people are doing in terms of the actual e-commerce steps along the way and be able to manage, the view really of your pipeline from, one stage all the way to the other. All of that is things that are, quite invisible or non-existent inside a lot of learning platforms. And that's what I was hoping to do today. And today's is just highlight some of these features that just don't exist. And when you try to use a learning management system that's focused on employee learning, what you'll find is sure, it can manage SCORM content and it can manage teams, but then, and sometimes you can sell to individuals. But what happens when you're selling to organizations and, going to do it in the bulk? So why don't we go there real quick and end up with an advice question? Tell me what type of e-commerce features are needed. You got to sell to groups, you got to sell to individuals, you got to probably sell to both at the same time. You got to do that internationally. Like, what's the set of e-commerce features that's baseline nowadays?
Yeah, well, uh, it would take a lot of time to even get into all the nuances of that because there's a lot there, right? Um, for most of our customers, definitely the ability to sell to individuals, but also the ability to sell to managers is important. Again,
Hmm.
easy way to get to scale. If you can do um, one sale for 100 seats, it's much easier than if you have to do 100 sales of one seat.
Sure.
Uh, having the tools to facilitate though and manage that so that it's totally self-serve, again, something missing from a lot of kind of traditional LMSs. So in our platform, you can buy one seat, you can buy 100 seats. If you buy 100 seats, you can then distribute them to your users, and there's a number of different ways of doing that. You can report on them. All of that sort of stuff is built in. So that's very important to be able to do that. One of the things that our customers work a lot with is pricing strategy. So, and again, something very common in the e-commerce world, but not necessarily so common in the LMS world. So the ability to do things like sell 1 month access to a course for 19.99, right? Or upsell people and say, well, hey, we'll give you 12 months for 29.99, right? Um,
Mhm.
you're significantly increasing your average sale, and there's a good perceived value to the user because they're saying, well, hey, I know my employees may not go through it the first month. I'll get an extra year, for only a little bit more. So pricing strategy is something that's really important in having those features, the ability to do kind of bulk discounts, specific pricing for different groups. A lot of our customers will have negotiated deals with some of their larger customers. So maybe they get, just 30% off across the board on all of their courses. The ability to play with duration of access, right? Do I sell 1 month, 3 months, 12 months of access to the course? All of those sorts of things really start to come in play. The ability to do discount codes, affiliate tracking, to take purchase orders. A lot of our customers are doing, some sales through the kind of customer facing interface, but then they're also negotiating some of these larger deals behind the scenes, right? And those are facilitated via PO or an ACH transfer or whatever outside of our system. So, again, there's a lot there. The ability to bundle things. I know something you're really big on is sort of repurposing content, right? So producing one piece of content, but then selling it multiple ways, maybe a live course, recording that course, then selling it as a bundle,
Mhm.
taking those recordings, packaging them together and selling it sort of as an entire library. You produce content one time, you sell it multiple ways. So yeah, I mean those are just some of the things that we see people doing that they're kind of successful with.
Wow, cool. That's fun stuff. And sounds like my everyday life. For sure. We're out of time. I've got about another 13 questions to ask you, but we have no time today. So let's wrap it up how we always wrap it up here on the Talented Learning Show with an advice question. What's your best advice for organizations that are in the selling content business right now and want to proof their business for the next few years? Like, what would you tell them to do? What's your best advice for organizations to really take the most advantage here of the next few years coming up in terms of their business?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this particular space is really hot. Obviously, since COVID, we've seen a lot more activity in online training just in general. I think one of the big things we're seeing people get a lot of traction with is doing blended learning. So classroom is not quite as popular as it once was, but I think a lot of people see the value in having live interaction. So virtual instructor-led training using WebEx, Teams, Zoom, those sorts of tools, and then doing like a blended course. So maybe before the virtual session, users do some on-demand training. They get to interact with an instructor. They get to interact with other students in a virtual session, and then maybe at the end they take a quiz. So um, people have a lot. They perceive a lot of value in having that human component. So it's a good way to somewhat increase your revenue, charge a little bit more. And I think it also has really good learning outcomes. So for a lot of folks out there who are just kind of looking into doing on-demand stuff, I would say investigate doing blended. The other thing too is, if you are coming from sort of a traditional LMS background and you're looking to work in this space, um, you know, definitely try and look at things not strictly from an instructional design. We talked about that before. If you're just looking at things from an instructional design standpoint, you're sort of missing the bigger picture, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so try and put on your marketing hat, try and come up with some user personas, look at things through the eyes of your customers, and then just, tweak tweak your stuff a little bit to focus on that. And when we see customers do that, usually they end up having better outcomes.
I believe it. Sage advice, Christian Gainsborough. That's great. That's great stuff. What you're describing is what we at Talented Learning like to call the instructional marketer. It's really a combination of both fields, bringing it together, and that's what content as a business LMS does, in my opinion, is it brings those two fields, those two specialties together in one solution to the advantage of you don't have to integrate, you don't have to maintain and buy and support multiple systems. If your business is selling content, buy something that's focused on selling content in all aspects of it. And I live my life now, it seems like, on the marketing side of the fence. And so, any of these features that are helping you attract and educate qualified leads and bring those into your pipeline and convert those to customers. These are all aspects that you have to do, no matter what, with any business and with a content business, bringing them all together and thinking about it holistically is a way to really get some scalability and some efficiency in your organization. And that's why there's a whole segment of content as a business learning systems out there, because it is a business and there's a different way to approach it. And we learned a lot about it today. Christian, thank you.
Appreciate
Listeners,
it.
all right. Thank you. Listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Show podcast series. It was great to have you here. You can find more of our fiercely independent content at talentedlearning.com. You can get a free trial and check out the Learning Cart learning management system at learningcart.com and find more information about that. And if you navigate to Talented Learning, also in our public learning systems directory, we've got a lot of information about the learning cart system there you can review. So there you have it, folks. We hope to see you on the next. Have a great day.